Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yep, c'est moi. It's Lynn Cullen here on a beautiful Monday in February. And, and I'm doing it by myself again, okay? So, keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see if I can pull this off. I think I can. I actually think I can. So, excuse me. See, this is the slight sort of like the fact that I'm doing this is because now I have to like click on things and do stuff that I didn't have to do before. But I'll get better at it. That's what we're working through. Okay. Oh God. Where to start? I'm going to reiterate. Does iterate mean the same thing as reiterate? I think it does, doesn't it? It's sort of like flammable and inflammable. Inflammable. These words are the essence of redundancy, I believe. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to again reiterate that it would be great if you would seek out that extraordinary documentary, Navalny. God, pity the person who comes over to my house lately, because I am forever saying, have you seen Navalny? And if the answer is no, I force them to watch it. So I've now watched it, 4 times. And I'm just so blown away by that man. He wasn't perfect, but he was an exemplary human. God bless him. That's all I got to say. I saw a great idea for trolling Putin and his pals in regard to Navalny, and I sure as hell hope it gets done. I'm not sure what street the Russian embassy is on in Washington, D.C., but somebody has wisely suggested that it be renamed Navalny Street, so that the Russian embassy, if they're going to have a letterhead, if they're going to have anything addressed to them, it's always going to be at Navalny Street. A little thing to be sure, but something just wonderful in the knowledge of how much it will annoy and bedevil Putin and his gang. So I'm just saying, just rename that street. Or even that block, how they sometimes do that. I think that's a good idea. Okie doke. Well, all of that being said, I want to turn to the fact that Donald Trump, shit, I can't believe he made his entry this early in the week, but that Donald Trump, for all of the talk of him trouncing everybody and beating, Haley and yada, 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 the reality is he's not doing as well as he did 4 years ago. He is not. His numbers in every primary are down. If you look even at South Carolina, where he beat Haley 60% to 40%. Joe Biden in the Democratic primary got something like 97%. Okay? That's a lot better than 60%. And the fact that Haley got 40% in an extremely conservative state running against, the second coming of Christ, shows a great deal of disaffection toward Trump. And it shows that if he is showing weakness in Republican primaries, where Republicans are the ones voting, he has no chance, zero chance of winning a general election. That's my sense. Of course, if Democrats sit it out, like we'll see what happens in Michigan on Tuesday. I'm very nervous. It is Tuesday, I think, the Michigan primary. Very nervous about it. That if voters abandon Biden as a protest of his stance in the Israeli-Gaza war, then they will be potentially, and certainly if they do this in the general, handing Donald Trump the presidency. And I assure you, he ain't going to be good for Palestinians. He ain't going to be good for Muslims, right? So I just hope people get their, you know what, together. CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee, where Trump gave apparently a hour and a half rambling, incoherent, threatening speech, was the place to be in MAGA world. And the first speaker, I'm assuming you have seen this because it is as chilling as it gets. And as they say, I mean, was it Maya Angelou who said that when they tell you who they are, believe them? I might be misattributing that. But the first speaker was a guy named Jack Posobiec. And here is how he opened CPAC. Welcome to the end of democracy. They say it right out loud, right out loud. So even though folks like me have been saying these people do not want a democracy, the Republican Party is no longer a believer in democracy. It's a believer in autocracy. And he said it right out loud, and I assure you, not a boo was heard. Welcome to the end of democracy, he said. We are here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. And he held up a cross hanging from his necklace. Applause, cheers. He goes on. After that, after we burn that swamp to the ground, we will establish the new American Republic on its ashes. And our first order of business will be righteous retribution for those who betrayed America. I mean, no subtlety. Believe them when they tell you. They aim to destroy American democracy and then bring retribution onto those of us who they see as their enemies. You can't make it more clear. I will give them this. They say it right out loud. Welcome to the end of democracy. Amazing. Just so chilling. It is so, I'm talking to my mom last night. I called her up and I said, "Hey, Mom, what are you doing?" She said, "I'm watching the news." She says, "It is so awful." I said, "Well, I haven't watched it at all today. Is there anything particularly awful I've missed?" And she said, "Well, it's just all of this, Trump stuff." And she said, I mean, she was just, I'm thinking, I said, "Mom, you've lived through obviously a lot of terrifying times. You lived through the Depression. You lived through World War II. You lived through, the Cold War and McCarthy era and the craziness of the 60s and 70s. You've lived through all of that turmoil. And this seems different to you." She said, "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah." She said, "It's unbelievable." And I could hear the sorrow in her voice, the fear. And I can't bear that people who fought, Americans of her age, who fought fascism, who fought and died against this kind of crazed, autocratic, hate-filled fascism, are seeing it come here. And the fact that the guy held up a cross, make no mistake, we are looking at a white, nationalist, fascistic dream. This is what these people want. And this is what Trump is promising them. But Biden's so old. Biden's so old. Great letter to the editor of the New York Times. Headline, "This isn't Jeopardy," by a guy named Larry Stein in California. He said, "President Biden would be an awful contestant on Jeopardy. Instant recall and exact phrasing are not his strengths. But presidents do not play Jeopardy. They play it for real. And that reality requires deliberation, not flashcard memory. A president takes advice from a team of experts, cabinet level on down, and tempers it with their wisdom and experience. And in that regard, Biden is not too old. He is instead what you want He is experienced. He is thoughtful. But he wouldn't win Jeopardy. And this is, I think this is such a great metaphor, because we know that the American people have been taught that they are to feel entertained all the time. News is entertainment. Everything is entertainment. And that's how you get a reality star like Donald Trump being able to be president. And the people who believe in Trump literally cannot tell the difference between someone playing a character and someone having the experience and capacity to inhabit a job. God almighty. Biden is not too old. He is experienced. He is deliberative. There was a time when I tried out to be on Jeopardy more than once. Never quite made it. And then I kept taking that test you take. And then I noticed I had no chance at all. Because it's true that with age, you aren't as quick. It doesn't mean you don't know the answer. It just takes you another second or two to retrieve it, because your head is so full of stuff. Happened to read this about Biden. Apparently, there's been a book written about the modern first lady, and so it involves everybody from Hillary Clinton to our current first lady, Jill Biden. And it turns out that Biden is just like a really randy character. And here's what it says. It says Biden has joked to his aides, that good sex is the key to a lasting and happy marriage. And the woman who wrote the book, who covered the White House for the New York Times, said that in 2004, so 20 years ago, when Biden was considering jumping into the presidential race to challenge the perceived frontrunner, John Kerry, and he was having a meeting with some of his inner circle, who were all begging him to jump on in. Jill walked into the room wearing a halter top with the word "no" scrawled on her stomach. Woo! Just saying. And Biden took that as a veto, and he did not run that time around. There's another piece about the extraordinary pressure of the job, and I have often wondered. I mean, I'm not as old as he, and yet I don't have anywhere near the stamina I used to have. I've got the intelligence and all of that. I have the experience and all of that, but you think of the schedule that he maintains, and you cannot help but wonder. You'll recall that one of the things of watching a president, especially a president who serves 2 terms, is watching them age. Remember watching Obama? Remember watching? I mean, Obama was to me the most telling because, of course, his hair turned gray. But it takes a lot out of people if they're serious about doing the job. If they're not sleeping till, mid-morning and then playing golf like Donald Trump, refusing to read all the papers you have to read and keep up on the job. He did none of that, Trump. As I said before, he played being president, reveled in the power it gave him. But Peter Baker, who covers the White House, said that in talking to people in this White House who have served in other administrations, they are saying that this period, this last year, has been the most intense they've ever experienced. And we can believe that because it's felt the same to us, and we are not in the position of having to act, of having to make decisions, of keeping our balance, of not letting our emotions get in the way. And the other things that everybody says about being in this White House, the Biden White House, is that because he has been there, done that, served in so many capacities over 50 years, he's seen it all. And he maintains a calmness. He's steadfast. He does not panic. One of the things they point out, and I'm sure this is true, that the thing that weighs on him the most is seeing his son, who struggles with so many, is trying to stay straight under this incredible pressure being put on him by the Republicans. And seeing his son dragged into the mud and all of this stuff, that perhaps has taken more of a toll on the man than anything else, because it is so clear how much he loves his family. All right, well, let's see here. I got an animal news today, and I just to get away from this crap. I can't tell you when talking to my mom how many times I'd say, okay, well, let's think of something happy to talk about. And we would for a second, and then we'd end up back with like, oh my God, I don't know. We always circle back. It's pretty hard. But for some reason, there's a lot of animal kind of news. I'm going to start with, I'll stay in the White House because I was shocked. Did you see the report? Somebody got it with a Freedom of Information request, but the report from the Secret Service of how much damage Biden's dog has done to Secret Service personnel. The Secret Service has said that they literally had to adjust their operational tactics in protecting this president because when they were in the White House and that dog was on the loose, that dog kept biting and kept biting people. He drew blood. One agent required 6 stitches to close a wound. Others did require some medical attention. Now, last fall, the dog, his name is Commander, was taken out of the White House. But still, the Secret Service encounters, I guess, him because he's at an undisclosed location, but somehow in the family. And so at times, I guess the dog's still around. And the Secret Service said that they had to be creative to ensure the president's safety. It's incredible. Now, this is not the dog. The first dog was named Major. He did the same thing. I don't know. Is it because they're German Shepherds? And Shepherds, I mean, they're very bright, but they're very protective dogs. So who the hell knows? Maybe they should try a different kind of dog. One agent told his colleagues that if you're attacked, if he comes at you, stand tall and yell his name and stop. It's your best bet. God. Try to out alpha him. Now, I don't know. I don't think the Bidens acted quite quickly enough in this regard. I mean, that's, a dog who bites is a true danger. Anyway, so I guess there is no dog at the White House at the moment, although there, I believe, are some cats. They are animal lovers. I often do obituaries on the show, and I'll have to tell you the saddest. I mean, I am just brokenhearted because I did talk about and so loved the idea of this owl who had gotten out of the zoo, the Bronx Zoo. The owl who was named Flaco, and he's dead. But he had 1 year of freedom. And I don't know, do you think that makes up? He was 14. He would have been 14 years old. And animals, this kind of an owl in captivity could have lived as long as 40 years. And he only made 14. But man, that last year, free as a bird, doing what a bird's supposed to do, if not in its natural habitat. And because it wasn't in his natural habitat, he died. He struck a building. I mean, billions of birds die that way. In the wild, in its natural habitat, this kind of owl, he was a Eurasian Eagle owl, wingspan of 6 feet, just a glorious animal. And he would have in his own habitat in the wild, average lifespan is 20 years. And I am comforting myself with his loss in that he didn't, he had one hell of a year. I don't know. New Yorkers are taking it hard. I mean, they saw him all over the place. There were sightings constantly every day. And yeah, so hang on. Oh, damn it. I have a little bit of an issue here. I have quite a bit of an issue here. Uh-oh. I don't know. Am I still here? Fuck. Fuck. Am I still here? I think I shut something down. No, I'm still here, right? I am. Okay, I got it back. Jesus, H. Get so nervous. Saw a cute thing about, again, people posting stuff about IVF. Am I okay? Oh, okay, I am. I'm off? I am on. Okay. The screen, I did something. Kevin is here, and I am. I'm okay. But what happened is the screen, I don't know what the hell. I must have brushed this. Some other goddamn screen came up. I couldn't see any of this anymore, so I couldn't have done the outro, so I panicked. But I got it out. I'm okay. Okay? You will now exit. Jesus. Oh. So he's going to stay close for this week, and then I'm really on my own. Shit. And I have to tell you, last Thursday was the first day he did this, and he didn't want to be here in the room with me because he thought it might be distracting, which I agreed it could well be. And so I said, why don't you go upstairs? There's a nice room up there with a couch, and you could just, chill. And so he did, and it turns out something up there caused him to have an allergic reaction. And so, anyway, a bad allergic reaction. I am not kidding you. His eye was swollen shut by the time he left. And so he's afraid to go up there. So he's now, understandably, he is now sitting in his car in my driveway. God. Okay, great. All right, I'm okay. I'll, little by little, I'll get this. Okay, so I forgot more. I was doing. It's going to take me a while, guys, to get, just to have this be sort of seamless. The way I used to do the show, I had things in certain places that's not working anymore, and so I'm just a little. The word that comes to my mind, I don't think is a word. Blithered. Flibberty gibbeted. I'm, whatever. Anyway, more animal news. I know I had more animal news. Okay, so there was the commander, there was Flaco, and there was this about donkeys. Did you see? God dang humans. Okay. Most of the donkeys in this world live in Africa. At this point, they think there might be as many as 53 million donkeys in the world, 33 million of which live in Africa. But here's a problem. You may be aware that the Chinese have been making incredible inroads in Africa. They are, what we would use foreign aid for, to insinuate ourselves into other countries, to establish alliances. The Chinese have been doing that big, big, big time in Africa. And as such, there are a number of African nations that are so beholden now to Chinese money, Chinese development. And as the Chinese insinuated themselves into these nations, the donkeys started disappearing. The donkeys started disappearing. In fact, 6 million are killed every year so that their skin can be boiled down to make a BS Chinese remedy that's supposed to stall the aging process. It's just, whatever. So donkeys are dying left and right to keep some Chinese people thinking that they're living better. So that the donkey population of Africa is being decimated by the Chinese. Half of Kenya's donkeys have been killed in the last 4 years. God almighty. And so, at a summit in Ethiopia last week, the African Union announced a ban on the killing of donkeys. We'll see if that works. Something tells me it won't. Because when the Chinese want something, the Chinese generally take it. Conservationists say that if they don't stop this decimation of the donkey population, they could well be joining rhinos and elephants as an endangered species. And the reality is that one donkey can lift an African family out of poverty. A donkey can be relied on to carry water, to carry goods, and people. Just saying. Okay, so that's animal news. I think that was it. I want to say this about the horror that Donald Trump has wrought. Here we go again. There was a piece over the weekend about Nikki Haley and the Trump trolls who are besieging her and her family. And and you can imagine, with the most vile, sexual, racist, whatever. And the article points out that Trump literally has an army of these people. Now, they had been using most of their vitriol on Ron DeSantis and his family. And then when DeSantis bowed out, they pivoted to Haley. And then when Haley didn't do well in New Hampshire, they sort of pulled back, and you know where they went? Fani Willis, the Atlanta DA, a woman who had to flee her home because of death threats from these SOBs. What they have done, what Trump has done to our sense of what is normal in a political race, what he has done, I don't think can ever be undone. And it is a terrible, terrible loss. He is a destroyer of lives. He is a destroyer of norms. He is a destroyer of our national sense of purpose and unity. He is a destroyer that any person in their right mind would think he is a leader. God. Do you know they've even gone after her son, Haley's son? He's 20 years old. He's in college. And here's what I began to wonder. Why would anybody choose to put themselves and their families out there? This is how intimidation and terror works. Why would anybody choose? Think of all the talent, the potential leaders, the good people that now think, I cannot subject my family to this. My love for them trumps my ambition. God. So, remember the guy holding up the cross? Yeah, this is where they want to take us. And some wag wrote on Twitter, why stop at giving frozen eggs full rights as a person? Why stop there? Why not go further and give the women that those eggs came from full rights as a person? I know it seems radical. Yeah. And all of this, and remember it, that horrific decision based on religion, not on law, was able to be written because of Donald Trump's Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. And the minute Samuel Alito, a Christian nationalist, wrote that Dobbs decision, giving the unborn personhood, we end up then where we are now with this state court decision. with legislation and bills pending in tons of state legislatures, all of them red, that would in fact say that life begins at conception and that a fertilized egg has full rights as a human being. Not so much women. No, they do not have full rights in this dystopian MAGA world vision of America. Frightening stuff. I think it was Robert Reich, who I, as you know, pay attention to, who wrote something about the danger of this Christianizing of America. And let me find it for you. He wrote it under saying the emerging Republican theocracy. And it was a result of the Alabama Supreme Court's decision that frozen eggs are children. Our children. And he says this, according to recent polling from the Brookings Institution, more than half of Republicans believe the country should be strictly a Christian nation. And it also shows that that same cohort believes in authoritarianism. It makes sense, right? It makes sense. They support the idea of an authoritarian leader powerful enough to keep Christian values at the forefront. And when you think that this is the guy they choose, name me a Christian value that Donald Trump exemplifies. Name me one. One. Marjorie Taylor Greene, quote, "We need to be the party of nationalism. I am a Christian, and I say it proudly. We should be Christian nationalists." And as Reich says, a growing number of Republican voters view Trump as the second coming of Jesus and see this election as a battle not just for America's soul, but for the salvation of all mankind. They're that insane. A think tank that is close to Trump is developing plans. They've got them to infuse Christian nationalist ideas into his next administration. And they've got documents. Politico uncovered some of them. A lot of the guy behind this is a guy named Russell Vought, and he was Trump's director of the Office of Management and Budget, and people think would likely be maybe potential chief of staff in the Christian nationalist second Trump administration. This guy believes in banning immigration of non-Christians into the United States. He fervently believes in overturning same-sex marriage and barring access to contraception. Welcome to The Handmaid's Tale, right? Christian nationalism is inconsistent with the values of American democracy and personal freedom. I mean, I need only remind you of the First Amendment, the words of which are, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. A country where one set of religious views is imposed on the entire country is not a democracy. It is a theocracy, and as I said at the top of the show, that is exactly what they're intending. I'll read to you again what the guy said opening CPAC this weekend. Welcome to the end of democracy. We are here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this, holding up a cross. And after we burn that swamp to the ground, we will establish the new American Republic on its ashes. And our first order of business will be righteous retribution for those who betrayed America. Believe them. Believe them. God almighty. For you, baseball season's about to start up again, and I just wanted to point out that, man, there was just a withering piece on the Pittsburgh Pirates done by The Athletic, which is now essentially what the New York Times uses for its sports reporting. And it was a 2-page story in Saturday's New York Times. I'll share just a little bit of it with you because it's nothing that we don't know. The 4 largest contracts in Pirate Club history, if you combine the 4 largest contracts the Pirates ever gave any player, that number still falls $500,000 short of what the Kansas City Royals just gave to one of its players, Bobby Witt Jr. They talk about the fact that that the cheapskate owner is simply refuses. He just refuses to essentially play the game. They talked to a lot of people to do this article that were in the Pirates, employ and guaranteed anonymity so they would speak. And one said, I've been in some meetings where my jaw has dropped because we had to wait a day to trade a guy because it was going to save us $30,000. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm hearing this. This is a $10 billion industry, and we're losing somebody so he can pocket 30 thou? A few other little things. Under nutting, the Pirates have spent less in free agency than any other club. Most Pirates who achieve success are traded. We know all this. The Players Union filed a grievance against the Pirates for not spending revenue sharing money as intended. And the Pirates' projected opening day payroll this year is ahead of only the A's. So it's not last, it's second to last. Usually it's last. And it's too bad when a team, I think they quote, I'm trying to remember, Garrett Cole in there as saying how sorry he feels for Pirate fans because he said the city's got such a great fan base who just love the team, but you can't expect fans to support a team like the ones that they are putting out there. Okie doke. I'm trying to look. We've got a little bit of time left, and I just want to share with you. I can't remember where I got this, but it's funny. People go online and they give reviews of national parks and other tourist attractions on Yelp and other places. And somebody put together some of the more scathing reviews of places that people generally think are just wonderful, right? So there's this. Here's a review of the Grand Canyon by Sarah from Mars, Pennsylvania. Just saying. She wrote of the Grand Canyon, it's too big. There are no plants, no life. It's like a picture of death. Boy. Here's another one. This is of the Grand Tetons. You can't make this up. I don't know. It could be better. The mountains block the sunset. Dear God in heaven. And here, this one I can understand, I think. This is a review of Death Valley. Not a fan of finding nothing in the middle of nowhere. It's like visiting a giant litter box. It's true. I mean, why would you? Would you drive out to be in the middle of, why would you? The one time I saw Death Valley, I was on, this was in the 50s, ladies and gentlemen, before you were born. It was in the 50s, and I was on a train that I'd gotten on in Chicago, and we were making our way out to California. And that was an incredible trip. Oh my God. Trains used to be amazing. They used to be amazing. But we went through Death Valley, and I think I slept through most of it. And that's the way you should do Death Valley. You sleep through it. Just saying. Anyway, I think that be it for me this day. So thank you all for being there and sticking with me. And I'll be back tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to have to be Susan's last appearance for a while until I manage to learn how to get her on. But I will. I promise. Okay. So there's that. You have a good day. You have a good day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.